Okay, so here we go. Nasdaq recap for May 31st, last day of May. Let's see how it looked. Right now, we're just looking at the daily. You can see last week was definitely a move up, and we've got a breakout of a descending channel. And so before a day begins, I want to make sure I have the high of the day, which ended up being pretty much where the end of the day was on Friday, and also the low of the day. And so you can see how today finished, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at the 5-minute on today. So in a given day, you always want to be cautious in trading the open. Make sure that you are not really trusting any move before 9:15, that you're taking your profits whenever you can. And so that is why I really only trade the open unless it is just glaringly obvious. And one of the reasons for that is that I use the RSI. And today, all of the NASDAQ stocks were low on their RSI except for one, and that was Amazon. It just was not in full agreement, and that might explain some of the price action that we saw today. So this is what we're looking for, an A-plus setup. We're looking for a trend line break. We're looking for a PSAR change. So let me go ahead and turn that on. And we are also looking for confirmation of under or over the 20 EMA, and we'll use our fib levels to maximize our gains throughout the time. So let's just play this one out and just assume that we avoided the open. It's just good practice to avoid the open. And here we are. At this point in time, I trade Central Standard Time, and this is a pretty big indication right here, a tweezer candle really at 9:10. So when I say to avoid the open, that says, don't really trust any move before 9:15. It could be a complete fake out. And so right here at 9:10, let's just let this next one play out all the way up to 9:15 and see what we get here, because then we can draw our fib levels. Okay, so here we are with our first 45 minutes in, and we want to take the low of the day with the high of the day, and then I just double click. That's something I'll explain a little bit later on why I do that, but I found out that that's actually a very consistent way to do this. So now you're trying to figure out, okay, when is a safe time to really get in? Right now, the 820 clouds are red, and the PSAR is actually showing red as well. And so right there, somebody could actually come in and play the PSAR switch, and they could do a pretty quick scalp here. I think that this actually ended up becoming maybe even a 50% profit. And so that's a pretty quick play. You can see the PSAR was actually pretty consistent today. But then this settled in, and we'll see if it actually hits the high of the day from Friday. Doesn't look like it did. It's actually pulling back here. That's a pretty big move back, and we did have a PSAR switch. And so this was a tough one right here, because as far as playing, if you're going to play this move, you want to play a PSAR switch when a high of the day is in or a low of the day. So you play calls from the low of the day and puts from the high. If you get in right here around VWAP, there's just a confluence. You can see the 8 and the 20, and you can see the, we can draw the fib retracements here as well, and you can see we just have a confluence of all kinds of lines in here. And once you see this, you can see just a cluttered mess, and that is why you're not going to see much follow through on this move right here. In fact, what we see instead is these spinning tops. So when it comes down and it tests VWAP and it tests this fib right here, and you see some spinning tops, that's definitely a reason to get out if you were in on puts here. But spinning tops, I've grown to just love spinning tops, because they're a sign of another move coming. And what I'm going to do is actually just remove these retracement lines, just so we can have a clearer vision of what's happening here. We might even just drag this down here as well, because what we start to see here is, and what I always want to look for in any given day, are triangles. This one's a pretty intense and steep one, but any kind of triangle, I want to watch it, and I want to look for a breakdown from it or a breakout from it. So let's see what happens. I've got a stop buy placed above here, and I've got a stop buy placed below here. So that did not hit, luckily. Then right there, So fake down, then up. Now we're actually in. And what's fascinating to me is these calls right now, let's go ahead and put them on here. These calls were the 311 calls, and they were 64 cents right here. Don't want that. We want to just type in 0.64. So that's kind of hiding in here. Let's just have this in a spot where it can be seen. So just to review, we've got all this confluence here of VWAP and all these lines. And when you see this jumbled mess of lines and you see these spinning tops, it's no wonder that this didn't want to go down any further. But when it breaks out and you can get in, it's a good spot to actually get in. Now we want to take our profits at 15%, start scaling out at 15%. It's definitely a good time to try to scale out at what was like the high of the day. And let's see if these fib extensions can actually work here. That's a pretty strong move up, right? Very strong move up, breaking out of that triangle. And you can see pretty strong move back in return. From here, from this 64-cent entry all the way up to here, that was $1.97 way up here. And you know, you might be wondering, well, how did I know this was going to happen for this to pull back? Your 100% move was probably right in this. Our $1.97 hit right up here. If you got in at 64 cents and you're not selling at 100%, I really think you're doing it wrong. You know, if anybody can ever give you 100%, take it. You never know when there's going to be a big pullback or what things might look like. But that was over a 200% move from here to here. And so today was just one of those days where Amazon just wasn't going to let it sink. Just kept on coming up. And anytime the dips were there, then it ended up they ended up buying the dips. So now we've got a new high of the day, and we possibly have another ascending triangle, and this is one to watch here as well. So if you can see resistance there along the way, and then you can also see a trend line that's being formed. I mean, this is not an exact trend line yet because we don't know how these candles are going, but it's good to anticipate that ascending triangle. So that's our first sign right there of, you know, I'm going to probably draw this back a little bit here, and if this gets below, then I definitely want to be honoring that. So now this is just interesting to me because, and you've got time in a day to actually take a look at all of these things, but I'm coming back here and seeing just some moves on a day that are very, very interesting. But I do want to get a chance to draw my Fibonacci retracement levels, because if we do possibly have a high in on the day, we want to find out, well, how far could this possibly go back? If it does come down here to this 23.6 fib, then could it hit the previous high of the day, or this line here as well? Could it move down even further? You can't know how far something's going to go, but I do know that if I see a trend break right here, and now I'm in, and these puts right here, these were the 308 puts, and I'm just going to put that here, and they were 36 cents at this time. And so what I like to do when a PSAR switch happens, we do have a trend line break. We do have a PSAR change. It has not confirmed under the 20 yet, but I do want to average in. Excuse me, we haven't seen the PSAR switch yet. So this is what I would call a B+ trade. We have a trend change, a trend break, and I do want to get in on a trend break. So these were the 308 puts at 36 cents here. Let me put that right up there. All right, so that's a huge flush right there. And what I want to make sure is that I have my sell here, and if I don't have it here, I have it right down here at this fib level. So let's see if it actually hits those lines here. Okay, that's a massive move down. Now this yellow line right here is VWAP, and I do think that more traders should use VWAP. It's that volume weighted average price. It really tells us, are the buyers in or are the buyers out? And the buyers are out below VWAP. It's just averaging all of the bids, all of the prices coming in. So I want to have my sell right at VWAP. Okay. So I got mostly out at that point, and I was hoping it would come down and hit the golden ratio down here. It would come all the way back down. But right here, this wick right here tells me this move is probably over. Today was just a herky-jerky kind of day. These strong candles just make you think there might be a major flush going on. But when you see a low wick like that, that says buyers have come in. So how far did this actually move? It was 36 cents at one point in time at the trend break, and it did go as far as $1.49 at the highest, and that is a 314% move. You might have looked at today and been a little skittish about putting large size in on something, but just think about, you know, a 314% move in a matter of really 35 minutes. And then just start to read these wicks. These wicks are really important because after this we get a really frustrating bounce. Just kind of keeps moving up, and you want to be able to sell into strength. You want to be able to scale out at these fib levels. You can see it came down, bounced here, hit that one. Scale out at these fib levels, and then, you know, don't get greedy. I mean, we're not talking about a big difference between here and here. If you see that wick and you see it bouncing back up, it's an okay thing to get out, because these wicks can really be telling. Look at the bottom wicks on both of these two right here. So really, to think about this on our day, this move over here was over 200%, and this one was over 300%. Congratulations, you're done with your day. Those are huge moves.